הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שרבים גם יחד. 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 הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שרבים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Hello, Julia. Hello, Rachel. Welcome. We are so glad everybody is here. I invite you to do me a big favor, please. Take your cell phones and turn them off, or to silence, or something that they won't make any noise. Even like the iPad, make sure there, we're all good. All right. So, because we don't want to be disturbed by anything else except being able to listen to each other and to listen to our voices and to join together in song for Shabbat, we welcome all of those as well who are streaming into our Shabbat services. We are glad you are joining with us. And so we hope you feel a little bit of inclusion there within the community. Thank you so much for being a part of our congregation as well. And so we want everybody to take a moment, turn to the person next to you, in front of you, behind you, catty corner, wherever. Say Shabbat Shalom, introduce yourselves. Very good. Excellent. We have an amazing, I know. Yeah, exactly, they are. They're adorable. We have an amazing Shabbat service, packed full of not only beautiful Shabbat melodies, but also a Shabbat that is full of blessings. We're going to be blessing a bride and a groom on an upcoming wedding. So with Sarah and Tim in a little bit. We are going to be hearing from Rabbi Yuri Regev, who I hope many of you have come out to hear as well. And I know we have some people from the community. We are so glad that you are here joining us, but we'll hear more about Rabbi Regev shortly to really give us a great perspective of things that are going on in Israel and why it matters to us as American Jews. And of course, we have the blessing of a young man who becomes bar mitzvah, who will be called to Torah tomorrow, 10:30, Chapman Fish Interfaith Chapel. It is an awesome place, and it's going to be even more awesome because Alex will be called to Torah as a bar mitzvah. So, Alex, I'm going to invite you and your family, so your parents, Marty and Julie, and your brother and sister, Adam and Becca, to come in to join us for lighting our Shabbat candles and Kiddush, and joining together on page 2. Let us light our Shabbat lights. Go ahead and take one of those. There you go, perfect.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק של שבת.
As we now turn to our kiddush, which Alex will lead for us on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'rashavanu v'shabbat k'shoda ahava v'ratzon v'imanu v'shalom v'ma'aseh v'reshi v'yom v'yilat v'nihir v'reh v'kerev'tziyat
Anu b'charta yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshcha v'ahava uratzon imcha tzanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Amen.
No, it's not for a few more years. You should have known with your parents and with your sister and brother in life. Sweetness of the vine. Now, there was a couple of Christians. There you go. There, thank you. We wish you some welcome and we look forward to celebrating with you tomorrow with all of you. And, breathe. There you go. No, all done, right? There's not much extra paper, right? Okay, come on. You're welcome. As we welcome Shabbat with Lecha Dodi, we turn in our prayer books to page 20.
Lecha dodi לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה. Lecha dodi לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה. Lecha dodi לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה. Lecha לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. Lecha dodi לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה. Lecha dodi לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי יבוא הברכה מראש מקדם מסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. Lecha dodi לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה. Lecha dodi לקראת קלה, מפני שבת נקבלה.
Verse 5.
התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורף קומי אורי, Uri, Uri, Shir Daverim, Givur Allah Yimila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi Nikra Kalam, Neshama Nikra Bila. Lecha Dodi Nikra Kalam.
Please rise to share faces to our welcoming Shabbat.
Go'oi ושלום בעטרת בעולם, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי קלה בואי קלה. לך דודי, לך דודי נקרא קלה, נשמה נקרא בלה, לך דודי נקרא קלה, נשמה נקרא בלה.
How appropriate to do a wedding blessing as we welcome Shabbat as a bride. And soon, Sarah, you are going to be a bride. A beautiful one at that. And Tim, you will stand next to Sarah as her groom, as her beloved. The two of you fulfill this beautiful idea, this tradition of when our souls were created, they were divided into two, sent off into the universe, their goal to find one another. The two of you have found each other, hence reuniting your souls into one. So it is such an honor and blessing to be able to join with both of you and your family to celebrate this beautiful occasion. Source of all life, we ask your blessing for Sarah and Tim. May God, who blesses all, bless this bride and this groom. Guide them on life's journey. May they fashion a home worthy of praise, a secure refuge, where they find tranquility during all their days together. May God give them your blessing. Let them come to understand what is in the heart of the other, and gain insight into their own hearts. Keep them loyal to their ideals with which they begin this union, and help them to honor and sustain each other. Smile upon them and teach them to give and receive love with hearts joyful and full of thanksgiving. May the love of this couple inspire and bless their entire family, their friends, and the entire community. And so we give thanks to God for this moment, for all is precious in life. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who gives us life, sustains us, and enables us to reach this moment. We join together to cantor with Shehekiah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Mazel tov to both of you. May this truly be a wonderful beginning to a beautiful, beautiful life ahead. Mazel tov.
books, page 26.
יתגלה ויתגלה שמרה.
Amen.
גלמד רחותי ימית מלכותי, בחיי כל יום אחד, ופעיל כל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן אביב למרו.
Amen. Yehi shmera v'mevorach, me'alamo me'almaya, yitbarach.
יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ותרומם ויעשה ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קדושה לעילה מברכתה ושירתה
Tushmehata v'neremata, Damira v'yama. Amen. So turn to page 28, please rise for Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? I'm listening to my prayer. Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya-la-la-la-la, 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 ya-la-la-la-la.
Page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven stands to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aradi. Page 32.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, אהבת תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למענתם. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם בחיינו, ואורך ידינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה. תאוותך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Anu Shenkirot Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Anu Shenkirot Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated as we continue chanting Ve'ahavta, page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'harihu ha'elohim ha'erev asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinanta levavecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ותקומך, ושעתם לראות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Be'emet. Page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Kamoka, Ba'edi Madonai, Nigid Kamoka, Ne'edama Kodesh Noraten Hilot, Osef Vele, Noraten Hilot, Osef Vele. Malchutecha Ra'u Vanecha, Oke'ayam, לפני משה וים זאבי, ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Praise for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. As we continue on page 43. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44.
This is a new melody for us of the Shamru, an old favorite of mine by Donnie Massen. Please join in as you get the hang of it. Shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם לדורותם ברית עולם.
So we continue now with the Amidah, page 46. Please rise.
Ufiyaki tegilatecha Adonai svatai tita Ufiyaki tegilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak
אלוהי לאב, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל העליון, גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות לאימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחייך כל הצער ולהושיע, מוריד הצער, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומצהיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ובדומי רב, מלך ממיט ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמנת לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יחדנו חסדה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue now silently with the remaining prayers of our Amidah through page 60. And when you've completed your own prayers, either the words on the page or the prayers in your heart, I invite you to then be seated.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech hador, Lord HaShalom, Ki atahu melech hador, Lord HaShalom. Shalom Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha, Tasim טוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשימי לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשימי לעולם. תשימי לעולם. תשימי לעולם.
We take moments now to offer Shabbat prayers of healing for all those who are in need of healing of mind, body, and spirit. I invite you at this time to think about those family, friends, members of our community, members in all communities that are in need of healing. And so at this time, think about them, and I'll then invite everyone to share those names together as a congregation as we turn to page 253. משברך אבותינו ואמותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך את החולים. I invite you to please share the names of all those who are in need of healing. הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחלימם ולרפאותם ולהחזיקם וישלח להם מהרה רפואה. רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש, רפואת הגוף. השתה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ונאמר אמן. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen.
May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Yishlebera, Imotenu, Mekor Avraham, let's go sing the healing with Refuah Shlema, the renewal of mind, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
It is my honor tonight to welcome to the Bima Rabbi Yuri Regev. And he is absolutely an amazing, amazing rabbi, not only in Israel, but also here in America. Rabbi Regev is internationally renowned, a renowned leader and advocate for religious liberty and the liberal movements of Judaism, and not only in Israel, but around the world. Rabbi Regev currently serves as the president and the CEO of the Educational and Advocacy Israel Diaspora Partnership, Freedom of Religion for Israel, and of its Israel counterpart that you've been hearing me call out for quite a while, Chidush, for freedom of religion and equality. He served as the president of the World Union for Progressive Judaism for 7 years. As the head of the World Union, Rabbi Regev worked to strengthen modern pluralistic Jewish life and democracy in Israel and throughout the world. He also guided the organization in its Tikkun Olam initiatives through social advocacy programs on both local and both the local level and in partnership with prominent international non-governmental organizations, including the United Nations. As the executive director and legal counsel of the Israel Religious Action Center, also known as IRAC, but it's a different IRAC, I promise. The advocacy group established by the Reform movement in Israel, Rabbi Regev led IRAC's legal team to historic victories that we've talked about in our congregation, in the Israeli Supreme Court, in cases involving who is a Jew, the issue equitable funding for reform and conservative institutions, where we've talked about making sure that not only the Orthodox are being compensated and also finding funding for their congregations, but also the reform and conservative movements are as well, and the fight for representation in the religious councils. He's also defended the rights of Sabbath-observant Jews and argued cases involving many other central issues of religious pluralism and human equality for all Israeli citizens. So it's important to hear Rabbi Regev represents all Jews across the board throughout Israel. Rabbi Regev has also served on the boards of many other Jewish organizations. He was ordained in 1986 from HUC, JIR, the Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion in Jerusalem. He served in the IDF as an assistant legal advisor in the Gaza Strip and Sinai, and as a military prosecutor for the Israeli Navy. He retired from military service with the rank of lieutenant colonel. So if you don't listen carefully, he's going to make us hit the ground and do 20, at least. He lives in Jerusalem with his wife, Gary, and after this weekend, they will have the family Regev rabbis. Not only is their son, Yonatan, not that I'm partial to that name or anything, also a rabbi, but this weekend, Lara, their daughter-in-law, Yoni's wife, will be ordained at HUC in LA. So we've got this wonderful group of Rabbi Regevs coming forward. And also they will eat very well. For Liron, their daughter is a student at the Culinary Institute in America. See, I told you, Jews' food goes well together. We are so honored to have Rabbi Regev here, and I'm so grateful that you are spending this Shabbat as your daughter-in-law becomes a rabbi. So Mazal Tov to you and to the whole family, and thank you so much for being with us.
Shabbat Shalom. I am grateful to Rabbi Cohen for inviting me to speak from their borrowed pulpit, and to all of you for coming together this Shabbat, whether to celebrate the Bar Mitzvah, rejoice with the young couple, Mazal Tov to all of you, and the opportunity to share with you the story of Chidush and the message and the challenge of religious pluralism, freedom, equality in Israel. To do justice to will obviously take more time than a sermon allows for. So let me, before I speak, say that I urge you to pick up the materials that were on the table as you entered. I'll say something about them, but beyond the materials, I invite you after services. Not only will I be hanging around and will gladly share my card and email address with you to invite you to engage in dialogue, but also wonderful friends and partners in advancing religious freedom and equality in Israel, in the likes of Harry Jacob, who's right there by the door, and Gordon Silverman, who is working with Chidush in the US, are here to also answer questions and provide you with additional information. Take down your addresses if you did not fill out the card, and we would love to stay in touch. So, this Shabbat, Shabbat Behar, Bechukotay, two parashot bound together, raises serious questions that I don't know. Where is Alex? I don't know, Alex, what you intend to speak about tomorrow, but they're fascinating parashot because they raise questions as to our own self-perception, self-understanding as liberal Jews. Behar starts with the rules and the story of the Shemitah year, the sabbatical year. Behar, we are familiar with the thrust of Behar because it talks about if we abide by the rules, by the chukim, by the laws, then there will be plenty. There will be rain. The earth will give its produce generously, and there will be peace. And if not, there will be drought, there will be death, there will be war, horrible, horrific things will happen. I am sure that there are plenty of people who make a connection between the California long-term drought and whatever inequities, religious sins or perceived religious sins one can come up with. It hasn't been too many years since I remember vividly those who said, 9/11, that's God's wrath. God is angry with you. You the abortionists, you the ACLU, you the courts. And believe me, it didn't take long for some in Israel, and I imagine here as well, to suggest that the horrific earthquake in Nepal wasn't just an act of nature, but was a direct act of God in retaliation for one sin or another. So the question that we ask ourselves is, are we able to look at God's actions as bookkeepers? God looks at the list of mitzvot and the list of aveyot, the list of sins, the list of crimes, and if you fall into that list, you'll be hit by lightning, by thunder, by whatever. And if you lead life of righteousness and piety, obviously you'll be rewarded by plenty, and health, and everything else. Life doesn't do it. And we find that simplistic accounting system to be unacceptable. So we, and this is not the topic of my sermon, but we are struggling with the challenge of those beliefs, convictions, teachings, the Bible, the rabbinic texts, and their applicability to our lives. And whether they have an everlasting, universal relevance, or whether they are tied to a specific place and time, and their time is up. And it is because they were timely that we don't feel that not accepting them somehow shakes our faith and destroys our Jewish identity. But that's what makes us liberal Jews. There are others for whom the text is sacred. we dare not play with it. We dare not interpret it away. And least of all, we dare not subject it to timely considerations, time, place, history, social conditions. So we have, as I said, two parashot, Behar and Kotan, and Behar starts with the sabbatical year, and I trust. So, are you talking about the sabbatical year by any chance? Good! All right, afterwards ask what you are going to say. But sabbatical year can be seen as an inspiring social economic principle that is intended to both care for the land, care for society, advance equality, advance social consciousness, care for the underprivileged, etc., etc. But think about it. So here is a rule that on the seventh year you are not to cultivate the land, and you can't sell its produce, and you can't plant anything, and you can't plow, and you can't trim, and you can't fertilize, and you can't do anything. You have to let it lay fallow. Wait. Now I am sure that each and every one of you, of course, tending to your private fields around the house, would have no problem whatsoever observing the laws of the Shemitah if you wish. Now the problem is, what if it isn't your private small field around the house, but rather a commercial farm? Can you afford to give up a seventh of the produce every 7 years, a whole year's worth of produce? Now you read it, and you nod your head, and you say, that's very interesting, but irrelevant. Because, truth of the matter is, beyond your little field, around your house, I doubt that there are many farmers here in the area of Santana. I may be wrong. No offense meant. But many of you will read it, will feel this is a theoretic exercise. Not so in Israel. Of course, there are those who, and maybe you will have some sympathy to them, there are those who say, still it's irrelevant because who said the Jews need to be farmers? There should be accountants, doctors, lawyers. Who says that there should be Jewish farmers? Others can do the farming. Creating a new sovereign Jewish state could not be based on that idea. There are excited, committed, creative Jewish farmers. As a matter of fact, they teach farming throughout the world, farming techniques throughout the world. And we are proud of them. Well, for those who apply the teachings of the Torah literally, they should go on vacation for a long, long time, year-long. And who should provide for them? Now, actually, the Bible says who should provide for them. The Bible says that just before the seventh year, there will be twofold, threefold produce, and therefore they won't need to worry. I'm still waiting to see. Now, of course, there could be plenty of reasons. Of course, one may say, yes, when everybody observes the Shemitah, there'll be twofold, threefold produce. But until everybody does, too bad, the system does not work. You know, you don't win the lottery until everybody does their share. So, what do you do about the Shemitah year, about the sabbatical year, when it isn't a bar mitzvah boy studying the parasha, but it's a whole country that has agricultural industry that it has to worry about? What do you do? Anybody? What does one do? Of course, the simple thing is you observe the sabbatical year. But the answer is clear. It's impractical. It's impossible. It's non-viable. So what do? It's a challenge. I don't necessarily have the answer. But I can tell you what is being done in Israel. And I can tell you in advance, the two options that are being presented by the official spokespeople of the religious faith are equally unacceptable. And therefore, Reform Judaism has a historic role to play in offering alternative, contemporary, moral, socially responsible answers to bringing the Torah and the words of the Torah into present day life. So what are the two answers that are being given in Israel? One is, you need to observe the laws of the Shemitah. Of course, you need to observe the laws of the Shemitah if the land is yours. What if the land is not yours? You don't have to observe the laws of the Shemitah on somebody else's land. So already early on, the late Rabbi Kook, served as the first chief rabbi of Israel, suggested a mechanism by which we eat the cake and have it. We sell the land of Israel to a Gentile every eve of the seventh year. So, for the sabbatical year, it's not ours. And therefore we can go on tending to its needs and selling its produce, etc., because it's not our produce, it's yours. Somebody else's. By the way, that will remind you, there is a parallel process of resolving the halachic biblical rule. And what is it? You are right regarding the Shabbos Goy. I wasn't thinking of the Shabbos Goy. Yes, certainly the Shabbos Goy is one, but I was thinking of something that has legal ramifications, because, this is a sale of the land, and you get the down payment, and amazingly, every seventh year towards the end, when that innocent buyer has to come up with a remainder of the price, he finds, much to his surprise, that he doesn't have the money, and lo and behold, the deal is forfeited, and the land returns to its original owners. It's amazing. Any one of you who engages in business and would have that happen to them once, twice, 3 times, I think the bank would have a problem with you. But the feeling is, and I know that I'm certainly describing it with a level of humor, something cynical. But there is an approach that views God as the IRS. And we are the tax attorneys. And God is accepting our schemes as responding to God's design for society. I don't share it. Moreover, the thought that Zionism cannot prevail other than selling every 7 years, selling the whole country to an Arab or to another Gentile is untenable. This is not what Zionism can afford to base itself on in creating, celebrating a new Jewish, modern democratic society. What's the alternative? Now, that, by the way, solution is proposed by and pursued by the modern Zionist Orthodox, because they want to have the cake and eat it. They want to be able to observe the Shemitah, the sabbatical laws, and at the same time to be able to continue farming and agricultural business, etc., because both are, in their view, equally binding and necessary. The ultra-Orthodox, of course, who come from the perspective of who says that a Jew should be a farmer have a different approach. They say this is an unacceptable solution. It's an unacceptable solution because they say it's fictitious. Of course it's fictitious. We know that it's fictitious. So what do they demand, propose, suggest? To observe the sabbatical law, Jews may not eat produce grown during the sabbatical year and sold in stores, and what should be sold in stores and consumed in kosher food places, and the army, etc., is only produce grown outside Israel and imported to Israel. So imagine, one solution is sell the whole country. The other solution is hold on to the country, but import all your produce from overseas. And in the meantime, the poor farmers, what should they do? Now, ideally, there would be double or triple produce growing on the trees. So long as it doesn't grow double or triple on the trees, let the treasury provide double or triple funding from the taxpayers' money to cover for the shortfall. Now, again, if they had come up with a system that makes it possible to grow money on trees, I would have had no problem with that. But not only don't they grow money on trees, but as you read in all the projections of Israel's leading economists, from the former governor of the Bank of Israel, Professor Stanley Fischer, to the current governor of the Bank of Israel, to Professor Eugene Campbell, the head of the National Council of Economy, to the head of the Taub Center, Professor Dan Ben David and others. They say Israel's main economic obstacle is, it's difficult for us non-economists to understand that, because we take great pride in the achievements and the progress described in Startup Nation. Startup Nation is all true. What they say is you don't understand. Israel is on the verge of economic collapse and becoming a third world country economically. Why? Because there's a hole in the economy that's constantly growing. Because the ultra-Orthodox don't work. Now, it's not that they don't work. They do. But they don't work their share in society. And as they grow in society and their share in the society grows, the fact that they choose to remain in the yeshivot and expect, as they did, and yesterday Netanyahu presented his new cabinet to the Knesset, and in the skin of his teeth was able to get a majority of 61 out of the 120, and I don't know how many of you will follow the Israeli political endeavors, but I can tell you all Israeli press described yesterday's presentation of the government as the political circus of the year. Because he wasn't even able to present the cabinet based on a majority of 61 out of 120 in time, because at the last minute there were some dissatisfied, disgruntled partners, political partners, whom he had to appease, so the whole thing was postponed for hours. The president, who came for the festive Knesset meeting, went back home and disgusted with the whole process. This is a reality. And I'm going back to sabbatical year and then jump for a few minutes to other issues. But this is a reality that I'm going back to the sabbatical year is reflected by requiring, as the alternative to the sale of the country, requiring that for a year we base ourselves solely on imported goods. Now believe me, there is an amazing industry that's developed. Israeli farmers growing, what do they call it? The contraband products, growing their produce, which they can't sell, transferring it to the territories, surreptitiously getting stamp from the territories, from the Palestinian territories, as if it was grown there, and then brought back to Israel and sold as imported produce from the territory. Now, believe me, I would have left and enjoyed it as a good show if it weren't so serious. Now, we love Israel dearly. I assume all of us, I'm sure most of us. We realize how important Israel is to us, not just because of history. Not just because everybody who reads the press knows you may feel blessed living in America. But look at what's happening in Europe. Look what's happening in France. Scenes, occurrences that we did not believe would really happen in our lifetime are happening. And life for Jews in Europe today, Western Europe today, is no longer felt safe, comfortable, secure. That's the reality. So you go back in your mind, you go back in history, and you realize, what would the Jewish people look like had there been Israel in 36 and not just in 40 years? And anyone can understand the importance of Israel for the Jewish people today, not just yesterday. But forget about it. Those of us who are interested in the strength of the Jewish people, in the continuity, in the perpetuity of the Jewish people, the reality today is that there are more Jewish children born in Israel than in all the rest of the Jewish people together. You cannot think of the future of the Jewish people without thinking of Israel. And you cannot think of the future of the Jewish people without thinking of the relationship, the partnership, the solidarity, the bond between Jews wherever they reside and the state of Israel. Not because you need to be Zionists, but because that is where so much of the Jewish happening takes place. So I could go down the list, we don't have time. Israel is important to us if we care about the fact that we are Jews and about the Jewish people. Because Israel is important to us, the question is our relationship with Israel based on crisis management, and the more crisis-oriented it is, the better it is. That's when we come out as the best Jews and the best people we are. It's when there are missiles coming down to the south, missiles coming down to the north, we rush out to contribute, to buy ambulances, and we have emergency campaigns, and everybody's happy. But what about in between crises? What about a vision of when our relationship is not going to be based on crisis? What vision do we have for Israel? That's vital, that's substantive, that's real. And I suggest to you that we have a challenge. Because early on in the history of Zionism, the challenge was to dry its swamps. Actually, they overdid it. And as you know, they're trying to bring back water to the Chula. They realized they messed up with the laws of nature. Wasn't a good thing. But blooming the desert, and Israel has done amazing things about blooming the desert. And of course, scientific discovery, new inventions, innovations, medical innovations, technological innovations, Nobel laureates, the military. So much that we can really look up to and be proud of. But when we look at Israel, is there a cohesive, holistic vision associated with it? We as liberal Jews bear in mind. What is this phrase that's used in recent years to relate to Israel's essence as a Jewish and democratic state? How does one reconcile Judaism with democracy? Those who think that the only way to maintain the Jewish state is by selling it to a Gentile every 7 years do not quite comply with or think about or appreciate the concept of reconciling Judaism with the modernity with democracy. So, time is basically up. But I do want to be tachlis oriented, concrete, tangible. So as I said, pick up the brochure that was on the table as well. And on one side you'll be able to read the case for Chidush. Why Chidush? Of course Chidush, something new. So why is this new thing necessary? But the truth of the matter is we chose the name Chidush because it's the Hebrew acronym of the words Chofesh, Dat, V'Shivyon, freedom of religion and equality. And the irony is that 67 years into the life of the State of Israel, we need to bring call to Newcastle. We need to bring religious freedom to Jews to the Jewish state of Israel. That's the reality. They don't talk much about it. It's embarrassing. It's controversial. It's divisive. We at times find ourselves airing the dirty linen in public. But you know what? If you don't air it in public, it remains dirty. Now what does dirty mean? Look on the other side. Meet Sarah and Sarah. Sarah is beautiful Sarah behind the veil. Sarah was adopted at the age of 1. Her parents lived in Ventura, California. Her father was the mayor of Ventura. Actually, yesterday I met with Rabbi Michael Burke from San Diego. It turns out, at that time, he was the rabbi in Ventura. Small world. So, at the age of 1, she was adopted, and her parents wanted to make sure that she is recognized as Jewish. So they had her converted to Judaism. And they found that, doing the reform route may not be enough. They wanted to make sure that she's converted with the use of a mikvah, ritual ablution, and therefore they arranged with the Beth Din at the University of Judaism to have her converted there. So she was. And as you can see, she's no longer one. And now, in her 20s, she made Aliyah. She was able to make Aliyah because I, in my other head as a lawyer, appeared successfully before the Supreme Court, as Rabbi Cohen mentioned, on numerous occasions in representing Reform, Conservative, and even one word Orthodox, converted Judaism to gain them the right of Aliyah and to be registered as Jews in the Israeli population register. And we prevailed every time. So she was able to make Aliyah, be registered as a Jewess, and she wanted to get to marry her fiancé, Tzachi. Tzachi is an IDF officer, lovely, young man, except these two Israeli citizens couldn't marry each other. Why? Because the law of the state of Israel is that the only legal authority celebrating marriages of Jews in the state of Israel is vested in the hands of the Orthodox rabbis. As far as they are concerned, yes, the land of Israel should be sold to a Gentile, or better yet, all Israel's produce should be imported from the territories elsewhere in the world. And Sarah is not Jewish, and therefore cannot marry. Now think about it for a moment. Now there is no single marriage in Israel for anyone, Jews and non-Jews alike. And there is no reform conservative marriages, no reconstruction, no renewal. And therefore, what did they have to do? Actually, they had to do, to a degree, what I did. Our daughter married the one who actually is no longer a student at the Culinary Institute. She graduated. She's a pastry chef. We're very proud of her. And as you can see, I enjoy her. So, about a year and a half ago, she married, and we had a wonderful ceremony. And you mentioned Rabbi Stanley Davids before. So Rabbi Stanley Davids, who's a close family friend for decades, officiated at the ceremony, and like Israeli weddings go, it was a mob scene. We invited everybody. So there were like 500 people there, and friends and family and their friends and their family and their neighbors, etc. It was lovely. It has no legal validity, not worth the paper the ketubah was drawn. So 2 days after the wedding, we and the groom's family packed up, flew to New York, and in New York, I, an Israeli Jerusalemite rabbi, have the license to officiate at legal weddings under the laws of the state of New York. So our daughter and son-in-law registered in City Hall. I signed the marriage certificate. Rabbi Jackie Allenson, some of you may know, signed as witness, and then a week later they returned to Israel, and on the basis of the marriage certificate of City Hall in New York, they were able to register themselves as a married couple. Isn't that ironic? Now, Sarah and Tzachi had to go to Cyprus to get married. And think about it for a moment. I'm suggesting to you, while not everyone is a 1-year-old adopted child who is converted, think about the intermarriage reality in the Jewish community in America. And intermarriage does not mean that every intermarried couple and every child of intermarriage is lost in the Jewish community. On the contrary, many are strongly affiliated with the Jewish community, especially if the Jewish community is able to embrace them. Now, I just heard the other day in the San Diego area, in the North County, 75%. You look at the Pew study, 58% nationwide. And then the children of conversions, reform conversions, conservative conversions, reconstruction conversions. You know, the irony is that even modern Orthodox conversions are not good enough for the chief rabbi in Israel. Because they think that many of the modern Orthodox rabbis in America are too liberal. I suggest to you, more than half of the children growing up in the Jewish community in America today would not be recognized as eligible to marry by the state of Israel. Now, should we care? Of course we should care. Should we hold our peace and say, that's too bad, I'm not making Aliyah tomorrow? Of course we shouldn't. The question is, are we serious about Israel? And if we are serious about Israel, we need to know this cannot be just about yesterday's war and tomorrow's war. This cannot be just about the next fundraising campaign. It has to do about a common vision of the ability to create a modern Jewish democratic sovereignty. That which is rooted not in what I suggest to you as a reform rabbi, not what American Jews suggest to Israel, but what Israel's own founding dream, founding promise, Declaration of Independence promises. I quote, the state of Israel will be open to Jewish immigration from all corners of the world and will develop the resources of the country for the benefit of all its inhabitants. It will be based upon the precepts of liberty, justice, and peace as taught by the Hebrew prophets. It will uphold full social and political equality to all, regardless of religion, gender, or race. It will ensure freedom of religion, conscience, culture, education, etc. Can it be more inspiring, more inclusive, more progressive, more democratic than that? Would Rabbi Cohen have written a different operative paragraph for the Declaration of Independence of a modern democratic Jewish sovereignty that would be different from what was written in 1948? But it awaits its full realization. And yesterday's government represents the exact departure, the exact opposite of that which is promised in our founding document. So So I'll finish with that point. You may say, well, that's what Israelis want. Of course that's not what Israelis want. Israelis want exactly what you want. And if you open the brochure, you'll see one sample of a systematic periodical polling that we do. And if you turn to our website, and I urge you to do it, I don't know what your practice on Shabbat is. So if you use your computer on Shabbat, don't hesitate. If not, you can wait until tomorrow night, not beyond. Chidush.org. Chidush is like Kiddush. HIDDUSH.org. HIDDUSH.org. Turn your computer on, log on to Chidush.org, and you'll see two things that I ask you to do. It doesn't cost a penny and doesn't take time. One is sign on to the vision. It's a button there. Sign on to the vision of religious freedom and equality. Say that you care. Be counted as those who feel that Israel indeed, being a modern Jewish democracy, needs to live up to the promise of religious freedom and equality. Join us, even by just making that brief statement and signing on to it. And the other is, it might take a few months until you're here, maybe longer. I remember being at Shalom when Shelley and Wendy were still here. Of course, not here. And I remember enjoying a fabulous dinner that Wendy has cooked. Great memories. So I may not come anytime soon. So sign up for our newsletter. Be informed, and actually the Shermans can tell you that it's a very good newsletter. It'll really keep you informed not only of the problems, but also of the progress. Because there's tremendous progress, some through the courts, some through joining together in pushing, and the main push today is for the right to marry. The right to marry. It isn't just the next generation of American Jews. Hundreds of thousands of Israeli citizens, mostly from the former Soviet Union. And again, it takes it back to you because so many of you, I'm sure, were involved and supportive and active in the Soviet Jewry movement. We brought together the Iron Curtain down and gained them freedom only to find that hundreds of thousands amongst them who are in your situation, many of you here, because their mother or grandmother is not Jewish, find themselves as Israeli citizens stripped of the right to found a legal family. None of them can marry. Until we change it and gain marriage freedom, marriage equality. That's the main campaign to engage in today. So do Israelis care? Pick up the article that Rabbi Cohen sought to duplicate for you. And you will see the most recent polling that we did actually about a week and a half ago. And you'll see how over the years there is a growing percentage of Israelis who say, I don't want to marry Orthodox. Now, I'll be the first one to defend the rights of those who want to marry Orthodox to do so. But certainly not as the only exclusive monopolistic avenue for legal marriage for Jews in Israel, or for Jews who come from the diaspora. So you'll be able to see how over the last few years, and we polled public opinion on this issue in 2009, in 2013, and 2015, and you'll see a clear decline in those who say, I want to marry Orthodox, and the growth of those who want to say, I want to marry civil, or I want to marry Reform or Conservative. And you'll see that the majority of secular Jews in Israel, who aren't really atheists, they're secular in Israeli style. They're secular because they say, I'm not Orthodox. How the majority of them say, we want to marry civil or Reform Conservative. So, bottom line, go home, turn your computer on to chidush.org, sign on to the vision of religious freedom and equality, and sign up to get our electronic newsletter. Of course, those of you who can support us financially, believe me, it will go a long way. But that's not the purpose of this sermon. Understand that Israel is too important to to be left to crisis management. Understand that while the swamps have been dried and the desert is bloomed, we have a pioneering opportunity to partner together with Israeli counterparts, like-minded organizations and activists, in breathing life into this unique creation called modern Jewish democratic state. This is the existential important challenge in front of us. The Iranian bomb is certainly a source of major concern. I don't think that many of you can go home and solve the Iranian bomb challenge. As a Jewish community, the fact that we can and have in the past overcome the politics that made Israel slow the process of realizing the promise of religious freedom and equality, that should not be tolerated. That should not be allowed to go on. That is a debt that we owe to each other. That's the essence of a meaningful Jewish partnership for the state of Israel and for the Jewish people. Thank you, Shabbat Shalom.
And also, exactly, we've got the forms back there too. If you did not get a copy of the article that was left there, it is on our website. It has the information about Rabbi Rega being here tonight. There's a link to it. If you can't find it, just email me, let me know, and I will make sure to get you a copy as well. I'd like to invite forward Andrea Watson to share with us some things going on in the congregation. And Rabbi Rega, thank you so very much for your passion. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We cannot only be thinking about Israel when Israel is at war. We have to be concerned. We have to be thinking about what is going on with Israel at all times, because the state of Israel, it is our state as well. So thank you so very much.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Mazel tov tonight to Tim and Sarah, congratulations, and also to the Foreman family. I look forward to services tomorrow morning. Alex, I really do a great job. I wanted to call your attention to just a couple things in the bulletin tonight. In particular, the adult B'nai Mitzvah class, their mitzvah project is to collect backpacks full of school supplies in conjunction with the social worker program we have for 80 students. So if that's something you can participate in, that would be great. Very important date, Wednesday, June 3rd, is our annual congregational meeting. So please put that on your calendar. We'd love to have a great turnout this year for that. And then lastly, Camp Shalom. For those of you who have grandchildren or children still needing to occupy themselves this summer, Camp Shalom is a great program. I can attest to that. I was a counselor there many, many years ago, and my children all passed through there and are volunteering now. So that's all I have to say for this evening. Shabbat Shalom.
Also, next week is Shavuot. And so with that, next Saturday evening, we hope that you will all join us, 5:45 for our discourse service, followed by a dairy or vegetarian potluck. Anybody who wants to participate like they did last year, we kind of did a whole Iron Chef thing. This year's secret ingredient, not the secret, are crepes, linses, things like that. So just no meat. We're sticking to the dairy thing. It's the Great Blitz Bake Off. Yeah, say that 10 times fast. But we hope that you will come and join us for an amazing evening with Dr. Marilyn Haran from Chapman University, along with Kendra Reinwald. We'll be doing a section on Hatikva, appropriate for tonight, the meaning of Hatikva and the music behind it, and then Denise Stevens and I will be doing a session on wine, dairy, and Shavuot, including cheese-making demonstration. We promise it'll just be a little cheesy. There you go. I'm here on this. So with that, we do hope everybody will join us on Saturday evening for a great Shavuot experience. speaking of that, we go ahead and we do count our Omer, which we can find in our prayer books, hopefully soon, quickly, in here. We're going to just go on. Because we are getting close to Shavuot, and every evening we count our Omer. On page 278, please rise. הנה דיברו זומן מקבל מצוות עושה של סדרת העומר. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer.
Today is the 42nd day of the Omer, which is 6 weeks and 6 weeks exactly of the Omer. One more week to the top of Sinai, my friends. As we turn now to Aleinu L'Shabeach, remain standing, please, page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו גדולים ומשתחווים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Our thoughts now turn to those who are no longer with us, those who have recently departed from our family, our friends, our community: Elaine Harris, Judy Davies, Alma Ruth Grossberg, Kayla Pomerantz, Jeanette Silverman, and Clara Stern. We also remember those whose yard sites fall on this Shabbat and during this coming week: Sydney Altschul, Fran Arnold, Helen Baer, Hessie Baer, Violet Benveniste, Irving Brown, Saul Chess, Herb Cohen, Coleman Colker, John Cosman, Marion Deutsch, Simon Elter, Sanford Fallbaum, Martin Fells, Maurice Hasson, Louis Katz, Eugene Carl Levenstein, Gerald Colton, Max Porras, Alexander M. Rubenstein, Morris Sampson, Max Schoenberg, Sandra Spitzer, Ray Stein, Mark Whittico, Erwin Zimmerman, and Lillian Zoom. If anyone is here in the period of mourning of Shiva Shloshim Shana, is observing a yard site of a loved one whose name I have not called, I invite you as I face in your direction, please share their names with us. For all of them and for all those who have given their lives al Kiddush Hashem, for the sanctification of God's holy name. For all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, we join together as one congregation, page 294, Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabba, ve'alma divrat pirtei v'yamich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'b'chayei t'chol Beit Yisrael, b'agala u'bizman karib v'yivru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabban Barach V'Elam Olomei Maya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitromam V'Yitnaseh V'Yitadar V'Yitaleh V'Yitalal Shmei V'Shab B'Richu Le'elam Yimko Berchata V'Shirchata Tushbechata V'Nechamata T'amiram V'Yalma V'Yivru Amen. יהי שלום הרב עמים שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say together, amen. Alex, we have one more
important business, piece of business to take care of. Ready? All right, my friend. Ready for a bug seat? Yeah? Cool, let's grab it done. Well, it is. Ready? Excellent. And you're going to have the right good idea. Because, Marty, you know, our blessing is coming out of our hands, but also from God on high. Yeah. Put your arms around somebody next to you. If you don't know their first name, say hello. Enjoy together.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל